Arthur, because we had a bit of a child emergency we needed to sort out. It's okay, nothing a bottle couldn't solve. Just making sure everything's up and running because I'm not doing this that frequently anymore. So it looks like we're good. We're streaming. We've got people in the chat already. That's nice. Just checking the Discord. Nobody's in the CodeZone chat on the Discord just yet. And Magetsum's there. Hello, Magetsum. And hello, Annie Cater, Danny Cron. We had somebody else. I'm sure we had somebody else. Not so sure. Might have just been me. Might have been talking to myself. Anyway, I thought we would start, actually. It's a shame Morris isn't here because we were debating something this afternoon with Morris, and I wanted to show him something, so maybe we'll wait to see if he turns up. Alter Ego's here. Hello. Gruffler. Hello. And as the title says, we're going to do a bit more GUI stuff because I did a bit of a change. Annicator's saying he's getting some ads. Yeah, it's a shame at the start of these things we do get some ads periodically. You'll have to watch the VODs and see his hello. So what I wanted to show was my first IDE and compiler that I bought myself with my own money. I dug it out of my my box. In fact, hang on, I can do something here. Let's click on that. Ooh, that's a bit scary. So this was my first IDE, which is a genuine Microsoft Visual C++ 6 CD. And I thought it was Student Edition, but it wasn't. It was Standard Edition. And this cost me about 50 Great British pounds sometime in the 90s. It took me a while to save for it. I remember actually I did spend my own money on this. So there, it does exist. It actually, I mean, just to show you, it is legitimate. I've not just printed off. It's a legitimate copy, and it came with 2 of the MSDN discs. So back then, the entirety of the MSDN fit on 2 CDs. So it was all of the Windows documentation, all of the compiler documentation, everything for that. Well, if Morris comes back, we might get that out again. I also, whilst I was digging that out, I found a couple of other things because I keep them in my cupboard under the computer. The other thing I dig out, I think some of you might have seen this before on the Discord server. It's a hard drive platter from some time ago. I've no idea what's on it. I've no idea why I've got it. Oh, you can see my lights up there. No idea why I've got it, but it's just an interesting thing that I've always kept. I'd love to know what data is on this. Well, probably not much anymore. It's been kicked around a little bit. We're having a bit of a show and tell here. Megarev is here. Hello, Gutierrez Dev. Hello. Yes, Visual C++ 6. So that was the first one I bought for myself. Now I did start on Visual Studio 5, but only for literally about 2 weeks, which I borrowed, and then I thought, well, you know, I'm going to go and buy Visual Studio. It happened that Visual Studio 6 was available at that time. Mohammed 3297. Hello, welcome. Slylips. Yes, exactly. So that's a big platter, and then I found something equally interesting, and I don't think I've actually shown people, but if you remember, when was it? It must have been about October time last year on the YouTube channel. I did a video about a robotic car. And it wasn't a sponsored video by any means, but it kind of was, I suppose. The company behind the car, Elegoo, sent me this robotic car thing, and because they said you can hack it, play with it, just use it in a video, and you know, good stuff. And it turns out they must have sold a fair few cars as a result of that video. I'm just catching up with the chat here. I do remember I bought a book for that version. My version came with a couple of books, and I was looking for those too, but I think they're in my storage facility somewhere. One was Learn C++ in 21 Days, which was rubbish, actually. But the other one was really good, and it was Learn Microsoft Foundation Classes. And it assumed you knew nothing about C++, so it actually had a C++ primer. And that primer was actually very succinct and useful. I enjoyed that one. The Joker, hello. So Elegoo sent me this robotic car, and we made a video about it. And they also, at Christmas, it turned out, they sent me a present as a bit of a thank you for helping them with their advertising campaign. And I never showed anybody the present, because I got a load of sort of import forms. They appeared. I was thinking, oh dear, what's going on here? I got lots of paperwork to fill in. And it said they were going to send me a screen. And I thought, oh, that would be great. So Elegoo is sending me a little, like an LCD screen or something, because that's the business they're in. They sell these sort of electronic components to hobbyists. I was thinking, oh, that'll be really cool. I can make another video out of that. And it's not quite that. Hello, new place. No, not a new place. Regular place. Not moved anywhere since. Hello, hope the family is very well from Dave40k. Yes, thank you very much. Family is very well. A bit of a late start because we just had a minor bottle emergency right on 8 o'clock, so we needed to sort that out. Yes, this is what Elegoo sent me. We're getting a bit of a show and tell. And I was thinking, wow, this is some screen, right? So, I apologise if this is offensive Chinese. I'm not entirely sure what it is. So there we go. That's what it says on it. It turns out it's sort of an embroidered screen, and we'll have a look whilst we're here. So it came in a very ornate box. Yes, no good me holding that up there, is it? Sort of waving it around. So yes, this is like a fabric box, and it shimmers. So you can just get it in the light there. It's very, very nice. And it's got these little luxurious clasps on the front here. And I shall open this and just make sure nothing falls out, so it's not upside down. There we go. And when you're presented with the box, it opens up. It's all very nice. And you see it says Elegoo in the bottom there. That's the company that were sending me the car. And inside they sent. I mean, I appreciate it because it's obviously something their tradition in many ways. It's a screen, and it's a sort of a carved wood thing, right? Now it's a carved wood thing of a panda. If I put it that way around, there we go. Carved wood thing of a panda. So this is an embroidered panda. So I can bring that up. Maybe you can start to see. You can see the texture of the panda, and it sort of spins around on its. Well, it's sort of base here. Do it. Forgot my name. Please help. Well, I can't help you there, but thank you for the subscription. It's much appreciated. So again, it gets better, right? So they sent me this really nice screen thing, and I have no idea really what to do to it. But attached to, I've got to hold this out of the way. Attached to the screen thing, and this was the best bit, was a tiny, really robustly fastened to. Oh, it's not. There's actually one on both sides. I didn't realise there's one on both sides. Were two imperial metal rules. So I'm unsure about the why they're there, what they're for. But nonetheless, it was a gift that was most appreciated. So that was for as a thank you from Elegoo for doing the robotic car video. They have since been in touch and want me to do another video about something else. And I haven't actually taken them up on that offer because it wasn't necessarily readily accessible to make videos about. In fact, I can't fully remember. I think it was... It was like another robotic car platform video, but an upgraded one. So I thought it would be a bit similar. And it had a gripper arm on the front or something like that. I thought, yeah, it needs to be a bit more varied than that. Thank you for helping me with your YouTube video. Well, I'm really pleased that you've found them useful. That's good stuff. So yes, there we go. That is my my Elegoo gift, and I'll just move that out of the way. So something a bit silly there. I thought it would be a nice way to start the stream. I've not shown it before. Yeah, it's a bit strange. Null Alternative. Hello. Ethereal. Hello. Right. Okay. Good. So what we're going to do today is a little bit more GUI. Elegoop. No, don't knock Elegoo. And sounds like I'm some sort of Elegoo shill. I'm really not. But actually, from a hobbyist perspective, they sell cheap electronic components. They're not the highest quality, but they're good enough for hobbyists to do what they need to do. And they sell them very cheaply on Amazon. They come very quickly. And I actually was buying from Elegoo before they sent me this stuff. It was a bit frustrating because I actually did buy a whole bunch of components and modules and things. And I should have said, well, can you just send me some of those? Never mind. Been working on translating the console game engine to Rust, which has been very fun. I imagine it has been. I'm not a big Rust fan, I must confess, but no, pretty cool to see the project getting used there. If you do come up with something, we've got the Rust chat on the Discord server. That's actually very popular. The Rust chat. It's probably like the third or fourth most popular chat on the server, and they're always interested in seeing other applications being made with Rust. Long-time YouTube subscriber, first time watching a stream. Thanks for giving the motivation to write a 3D engine for a Pico 8. Oh, wow. I've not tried anything with the Pico 8. I did want to this year sort of develop my own little virtual console thing. In fact, that's a while ago. That's how the NES emulator started. I wanted to sort of do that, and I've been discussing it with a few of the guys on the Discord server about what, should we implement a particular language and that sort of thing. It's all there in the background. Can't promise anything right now. Time to get GUI. Yes, a lot of people pulled me up on calling it a GUI. Anyway, yes, I'm still on sort of massive cam mode, aren't I? That's quite disgusting. Let's move that. But what I wanted to work on today was a little bit of the GUI. So I've been trying to translate my GUI library over to the space thing. Now, the GUI PegX is something we've talked about before. It's not quite complete yet that I want to pass out, but it's a lot more complete than it was. And so I wanted to talk about a few things. And you may have noticed on my Windows form here, on my window, I've got some scroll bars, and they overlap rather embarrassingly. We might sort that out too. And the idea is that the scroll bars are actually linked to things going on in the game. So here I've got this scroll bar linked to this the speed of the simulation of the universe. So we can see all the planets and everything moving very quickly now. So if we go and have a look at the asteroid field, there we go, whizzing past, and we can scroll it with the scroll bar, and we can click on the ends, and it behaves like a scroll bar should behave. And this is a vertical scroll bar just for testing vertical scroll bars. It doesn't do anything. I can click reset to origin, and we're going back to the start. So the GUI is starting to take shape. I'm quite pleased with how it's coming together. Speedy, oh hello Speedy, yes. Hi Speedy, everybody say hi to Speedy. Calling a GUI is a perfectly reasonable. GUI takes yeah, exactly. GUI does take ages to say. GUI is how I've learned to do it. And one of the things when we started doing the GUI work a couple of episodes ago. Oh, I should also apologise. I didn't stream on Friday. Frankly, I was exhausted. It was my first week back at work after my paternity leave. So I was a bit too tired on the Friday evening to do any work. In fact, I pretty much fell asleep as soon as I got in. And then that was meant to be postponed until Sunday, and that didn't happen because there's this kicking a ball around a field kind of took a little bit of a priority around me. So we ended up watching that instead. And then, now we're today. So Tuesdays have remained steadfast as part of the CodeZone output. We've always had a CodeZone on a Tuesday, which I'm pretty pleased about. The Friday and the Sunday ones are always going to be sort of interchangeable. 2 episodes a week is what I'm aiming for, sometimes 3, but the second one will either be Friday or Sunday. It depends on things that are going on in life. Right, so what I wanted to show was a big oversight. And I don't think I've got the original code anymore to actually demonstrate this oversight, but it was a big problem with the graphical user interface stuff, and it's something I completely forgot about. And so I spent a couple of hours over the weekend sort of implementing a new feature. Oh, hang on. When my phone goes ping these days, it's often important. It's usually something like, come and help me, the baby is trying to crawl out of the window. Let me just have a quick glance at this. It's okay. This is a message from Mrs. Javid X9. If you hear Javid X10, it's because I'm changing the nappy and putting night clothes on. Apologise to the masses. Well, I don't think we've got masses here. Oh, we're not doing so bad. We've got about 78 viewers, so we're not doing too bad. So apologies if you can hear a small new screaming programmer in the background. Although she's not programmed anything yet, so we'll see. I'm still crying a bit after the silly ball game thing. Well understood. Yes. You see, I don't follow football at all. I'm really uninterested. But I got caught up in some of the England game excitement. It's a very strange thing. I think it's just a combination of being absolutely exhausted and just wanting to put something on the TV. And not wanting to spend any sort of mental effort trying to watch something I would normally watch, like a documentary or a nice film on Netflix or something. So it was just there. And then suddenly, before you know it, you kind of sat on the edge of the seat going, come on, try harder. Anyway, that's the only exposure to football I've ever had. And I'll wait until the next major tournament before doing it again. This chat contains a non-zero quantity of masses. Yes, we're doing all right. Right, yes. So what was this big oversight? We keep getting distracted on some of these. Oh, I've just uploaded some of the VODs as well on the Java X9 Extra channel. Quite a few people, I get comments on the main channel saying, where can I see the CodeZone videos? It's surprising that they do sort of have this long life. People are watching them or putting them on as background noise or whatever they're doing. That's fine. So I'm going to close that down. So what was the problem? The problem was, it's going to be, some of you may just have to try and remember. This was the code here. Now we created the GUI window, and we had this sort of rather ugly way of seeing had the button been pressed. And it was, at the time, I acknowledged this is a full-on hack because I hadn't actually come up with a solution. And it turns out the solution is a little bit more involved. And the problem is this. So what we were looking for is, this is the window here, this Dialog debug camera. While this dialog has some notifications. Now, notifications in my GUI framework are sort of events, which we'll see is also changed a little bit. So if there are any events, then get that event, which it does on that line, and then it checks to see what was that event. And in this case, it was a command event, and so it reset the camera. And that all worked very well. The problem is, let's say this dialog outputs several different events from several different controls. We've now got scroll bars and things on there as well. How do we differentiate between the two? Well, that's okay. It's not as scary as it sounds. So if I just pull this back in so we can just abuse IntelliSense a little bit. If I go to n dot, one of the things you can do is get the source panel. So that will tell me the control that has emitted the event. The problem is I can't compare it with anything because the controls will typically be private to the dialogues. So I can't actually test to see, well, was that, I can't sort of go, was that the button? Because that button is private to the dialogue. We can go and have a look at the dialogue here. So here was a button. Where was it? Camera reset. That was the button on the construct client. It's if we put our thing over it, it says here. Oh, did we temporarily make it public or something? I can't remember. No, private. There we are. So the camera reset button is there as part of the GUI. It's okay because it's a shared pointer, and one of the nice things about my approach here is because it's a shared pointer, the event later on can still access the control even if the window that contains that control has been destroyed. So we don't sort of get this nasty bit of crashing that can happen in GUI frameworks. But of course I don't know what that is. Now, one way around this is I could, when I create the camera GUI in the first place, the camera window, I could pass in a camera reference or something like that and just update the reference directly. That's certainly valid. That's like a data exchange sort of approach. But that's not always applicable. So it turns out I needed another layer of events, and these are special events. And so now we've got 3 types of event in the GUI system. Let's just zoom out a little bit here. So the first type of event, there's a bit of a recap here, is this interaction. Now, interactions are internal to the GUI engine, right? So the user will never need to handle interactions manually unless they're creating significant pieces of GUI themselves and all sorts of custom functionality. The interaction is how do things in the GUI function. So things like dragging operations, floating operations, opening and closing windows and changing the focus, that sort of thing. So that's fundamental GUI stuff. The next type was notification, and this is where things change a little bit. So my events don't actually contain any information other than the type of event that it is. So if you press a button, that's a command event. If you move a scroll bar, that could be a value change event. So you then have to go and interrogate the control associated with the notification to see, well, what's the data? So if I move my scroll bar, it throws out a notification to say I have changed my value. I've then got to go and look at that scroll bar. And that's what we were relying on first time round. I can't do that because I can't access the scroll bar. It's private to the class. So I've created a third type of event, and that might seem like overkill, but I actually quite like this solution. And this one is just simply called event. And these are events deliberately designed to be emitted from the GUI framework to whatever external enveloping system is using that GUI framework. So these are designed to make the they're designed to exit the GUI framework and be used by, in this case, the rest of the game engine in some sensible way. So there is a little bit of translation required in order to do that. So let's have a look at the camera dialog class, which is here. So the onConstruct client function is called automatically by the system, and this is where we're creating our buttons. So we've got a reset one here. We've got a label which has the camera position on. We talked about that in a previous episode. And here I've got my two little scroll bars. This one is the horizontal scroll bar, H scroll bar, and it takes the following properties: where it's going to be put, the minimum value, the maximum value, the starting value, and position and a size. So we can scale those all over the place. Same with vertical scroll. Now, when I move or the value of the horizontal scroll bar changes, it automatically knows to send a notification. So this GUI construct, this form, receives an on notification event, as it were. So this is just what happens on the notification. Now in here, I can access all of these private members. So if I've got my button that's been pressed, I can tell it's that button that's been pressed, and I can post an actual event. So this is the event that's going to go to the outside world. And I've created the events in several different ways. We'll go and have a look at how that class is implemented as well. But here I can now see where my scroll bar is. I can see that it emitted a notification to say my value has changed, and I can then change that value into something I can go and send to the outside world. And it's quite important, I think, to have a lot of events that stay within the framework. You don't want the outside world seeing every event that happens, simply because later on, the idea of the GUI framework is we're going to also create a set of ready-to-use dialogues. Things like file save as and color selection, folder selection, that sort of thing. Really convenient utilities we can just sort of use straight away, get people up and running with GUI stuff in their applications. The advantage to doing that is we can open it up then to the public, as it were, and they can generate their own utilities and their own controls. So notifications sort of stay within the GUI framework, and there's no confusion then between a notification and an event. So some people will have a problem with that, some people won't. So, okay, long bit of chat there. Magetsu says he only follows hockey. Hockey just doesn't exist in the UK. Have a mouthful of water. Right, so that's the event system that I wanted to talk about. We wanted to just mention what is going on with the events. Now, I've decided what is the easiest way to pass information. And people will go about it in two ways. They'll either specify an event ID, which is some number, some constant table created in their program somewhere, and use those. Or they'll specify a string, and I actually prefer the string approach because it's more visible what's going on. It means I don't have to create that constant table. The downside to string approaches, of course, is the strings have to be identical. I could do some case manipulation, I suppose, to sort that out, but I quite like just specifying, well, this is the camera reset. And so in the main application, let's get rid of this again now. Once we've received the event, so now we can check our GUI manager. So does GUI manager have events? If it does have an event, get that event. If that event was camera reset, well then I reset the camera. Simple as that. If that event was the simulation time factor, which you could see when I was moving the scroll bar, then I just get that information. So the event itself has an interesting, yet at the moment, experimental sort of implementation. Where have I got to go? Event. I've got these sort of values implemented here in the event. It's not very elegant at the moment. I think I was just more experimenting with standard variant. There we are. So standard variant. So these are two values that are stored in the event that goes to the outside world. They can be integer, floating point, or double. I'm not expanding that out to booleans and things. The only downside is I can't then also make that a variant with strings. So it's a bit clumsy, this, because you can't have in your variant things that can have dynamic sizes. I'm sure there's some C++ aficionados that might be watching this, might pull me up on some of that. I hadn't really experimented with variant before, and so that's why I've sort of dabbled with it here to see what happens. Well, you see, Virax, I think that's the first thing everybody says. Strings are not too performant. Right? And I disagree. Right? And I'll tell you why I disagree. And that's because events never happen. Right? And that's the critical thing here. Events never happen. In terms of how fast the rest of the program is doing and what it's doing, I don't care if it takes an extra 100, 200 clock cycles to compare a couple of strings together, because it never happens. It happens once every millennia as far as the computer is concerned. They're so far apart. If the amount of processing that goes on between the clicks in a double click is like an eternity to the computer, so I'm really not fussed about them being performant. Standard any, yeah, I did look at standard any. I've got a video that did some standard any stuff. Again, I mean, my typical approach here would just be to actually have member variables of these types instead of trying to force them into a union. And because you always know which one you're going to be interested in fact, you kind of have to, because you need to interpret the value appropriately as it comes out. If you need to repeat a lot of events, I still disagree, right? Yeah, okay, if you're using it as an actual eventing system rather than a GUI event, then yeah, you would handle things a bit differently. You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it like this for a start. I actually, when I have done eventing systems in the past, I use the operating system's built-in eventing system to do it for me. I've done that with incredible levels of performance without needing to roll my own. It works very well, and it's into process as well, which is quite nice. As far as I'm aware, you cannot generate those smartly in C++ 17. Yeah, I mean, this is what things like WXWidgets does, and I presume Qt does. It's sort of the IDEs and the tools sort of automatically generate constants for you. That's one nice way to do it. So that's why anyway, I anticipated somebody would go, oh, strings are not very fast. So I threw in integer as well. So we can work with both. I couldn't care less. What really matters is there's only sort of so many different types the event can take as an object. It always takes a new and a previous event because I think that's more useful. I've built thousands of systems in the last 20 years where I've wanted the events to contain more information than they should do. And this is now where we're putting the information in the event. Previously, we weren't doing that. Right? So previously, the event just told you something happened, you have to go and interrogate it. That was the notification. The event itself contains two values. Because I think sometimes using the previous value or removing the previous values, let's say you're changing something in a list, you want to know what was selected and now what's selected, you don't have to sort of work it all out. I quite like having that additional information come in. So yes, it's still a little bit in flux, but it's working quite nicely, and it does actually make the code very simple to write. So yes, there we go. Right, so what I wanted to try and do today was make it so that when we select something, we can start to see its properties in some other window. And so we're going to have a go at trying to construct a bit of GUI. Now, part of the problem is I can never remember how to write my own code, so it's going to slow us down a little bit. But I do want to try and create a second window, add it to the display, and make it so that when we select something in the game engine, it sort of displays some properties about that object. Now, we're not passing objects around anymore. It's now we've moved to this entity component system. So we'll have to look at that and cross that bridge when it comes to it. I haven't got any sort of prototype code to try this. We are going rogue and making this up as we go along tonight. But I thought that would be a useful way for me to sort of cement in how I want to use my GUI. And I'm going to be super lazy for the time being because I've got some code in front of me here handling a window for the camera, and I'm literally going to get stuck into this file even. I'm not even going to create a new file and hack in some of the bits and pieces that I need. So I'm going to just copy all of that, and that's where we will start with a full-on shameless duplication of something that already exists. And I'm going to call that one Dialog Selection, because I've got a feeling this will actually become one of the most sophisticated dialogues in the whole project, because as you select on the different things, you want to see what the properties are. We'll change the constructor over there. I'll just zoom in a little bit so you can see what's going on. Change the constructor there, and just make sure everything that looks okay. Dialog selection, that's fine. So when we create the new form, it's got an underlying window, which is what gives it the decoration and the frame and the border and that sort of thing. So I'm just getting quite a few pings. I just want to make sure I understand what's going on here. Right, on Struct Construct Client, we don't really have anything yet. I know I'm going to have some static things. I'm probably not going to have buttons and scroll bars just yet. So let's remove those. On notification, well, that... yeah, possibly we might not even need on notification. That might be something we're going to be fighting with today. How do we actually inject sort of information into the GUI that's currently running? We'll have to look at that. I don't think we need, for the time being, on notification, because there's not really sort of any internal stuff going to be on this GUI. I don't have a list box control yet, so I will be just creating a static text. So there's not very many properties I can display either at the moment, and there is no set camera position. That's gone. That's done. So I'm going to. I will actually. Do you know? Right? Is it more useful that it sort of lists the components attached to the entity that we've selected? Maybe that's more interesting. But we'll start with simply the. We'll start with the radius of the object that's been selected, because I know that changes quite a bit around the scene. That's probably a good place to start. And we're not going to have any controls, and all of my GUI components come with a little factory function. We discussed this at length as to why this is the case. And it's, in summary, for those that didn't watch that episode, it's because we're using shared pointers all around the place. This doesn't work in the constructor, so you needed to have something which could then construct the object and then go and construct the content. So you can use the this pointer once the object is created. So we've got this is creating the window, of course. We need a default size, probably not that big. Let's change that to a 200 by 200 window. And we'll then change this to selected object information, and we should just be able now to construct this object. Let's don't need anything in the window right now, and get that to work in our GUI framework. And I'm trying to wonder, this might actually be the first time I've tried two windows on the screen with this particular instance of the GUI framework. So may work, may not work. We shall see. Regardless, let's go over to the main game header file and pull that in. So it's we're sort of piggybacking off this debug camera H file. Let's go and find where we've got the GUI stuff. Where have I done GUI manager? Here we go. So we've got there we go. Create one of those, and we called it. I've already forgotten what we called it. We called it. Where's my header file? We called it dialog selection. Simply that's all it was. DLG selection. MDLG selection. Dragoneye, hello. Channel Mouse, hello. Good. Yeah, we've not had a stream. Well, the last stream was last Tuesday, wasn't it? So it's been a bit of a while. Anyway, I've updated the VODs on the YouTube if you have missed out, and I think Twitch also still shows the VODs. It says here chat paused. It hasn't paused. I don't know. Don't understand that. The Twitch ecosystem is far better than the YouTube ecosystem for streaming, but Twitch is just trying to gamify everything, which makes the screen very cluttered with information. As a streamer, what I see is considerably more complex than I think what I do as a viewer. Right, M-Dialog selections. We need to go and create that somewhere, and of course in the Pixel Game Engine that is all created in onUserCreate. So let's go and find, there we are, onUserCreate, and we can see where I'm creating the debug camera dialog. I'm now going to create the selection dialog. Equals, we've got all sorts of namespaces going on, haven't we? GUI DLG selection make. We can pass in a starting position. Yeah, okay, let's do that. So we'll pass in 100, 100. I don't know where sensibly is a place to put the window just at the moment. And we'll add that panel. Now, this could be all horrible if it doesn't work at all, because I don't think I have tested if we can have two windows running at the same time. So I don't know what's going to happen. Exciting stuff. Alex, you made it. Well done. Yeah, Alex wasn't sure if he was going to be joining us today. You watch where you're typing. Yeah, I can't touch type at all. I just can't do it. I tend, when I'm actually coding and not doing things on stream and in front of people, I don't actually need to look at the screen very much. So I just always look at my fingertips. Because you can even tell when you make mistakes and backspace and things. It's a little bit more difficult right now because I have a gigantic microphone also stuck directly in my view. So that's exactly where the keyboard sits. So I can't even see my fingers when I'm typing. That's why I make lots of typos. But I can't touch type, and I have absolutely no intention of learning. I'm completely disinterested. You get to a point in life where you think, do you know what? I just don't need that skill. I've got this far without it. Oh, I don't need to bother learning it now. Right, let's compile this. See what happens. Hermes, hello. Well, it's compiling so far. That's a good start. Good. And we'll click Run. And hopefully we should see two windows. We do see two windows. Very good. And the two windows, they're independent. Also very good. The event should still work. That's good. That's doing its thing. So that's our camera dialog. We can ignore that one. This one is our selected object. Looks a bit strange that it doesn't draw the previous one in the background. I don't know if I quite like that aesthetic, actually. Yeah. Maybe we do need it to draw on top, though, so you can actually see there's another layer in the background. But the focusing system seems to be working just fine. Okay, I'm pretty pleased with how that's panned out. And I keep forgetting we've also got this menu system up here. That still needs some work doing on that. We've got no current way of associating events with the selected things in the menus. I struggle with typos on phones because my fingers are big and fat. Yes, Alter. I mean, it's not something I've ever felt a need for. I mean, I wrote my PhD thesis. Potentially being able to type a bit faster would have helped me out, but I'm not that slow once I get going. And touch typing code you see it in the movies, but actually in reality, it's not trivial to sort of touch type code. That's because you're just clumsy, Alex. Right? If you've got no physical disadvantage to typing accurately, it's just because you're clumsy. I'm just throwing that idea out there. So what I'm going to do now is make it so that when we select something in the universe, I've got kind of too much GUI in the way now, haven't I? Everything's sort of double size as well, which doesn't necessarily have to be. I think we'll probably reduce that, but I made it double size so we can see what's going on the screen. But you can see we can select objects in space. And I thought it'd be useful to display some properties about the object that we've selected. It would appear, yes, that not everybody writes code at competitive programming speed. Autocorrect on the phone is disgraceful, particularly for on a programming Discord server. When you're trying to type in some code on a mobile phone, it's an absolute nightmare. Right, so I think what we'll do is start by, we know when we're in our state machine when we've selected an object. And of course we can put other things on there too. Probably need to slow down the universe simulation. There we go. So we've also got other things that we can select. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to sort of display the properties of in here. Let's just throw in something else. And we played about with the routing a little bit last time, didn't we? So we can join objects together with a transportation path. I quite like showing these things off. Let's put a couple more satellites there. And we'll have you going to you, and you going to you. Oh yes, we had these things, didn't we? I forgot about these things. So this was the wireframe stuff that we added, wasn't it? So every time we created a route, just to test the wireframes, we created these gigantic cogs that go to the object at the target of the route. Space cogs. Yes, this is bonkers, isn't it? Well, the whole thing's getting a little bit obscure. Would be cooler if the rotation was left in. Did we take the rotation out? Is it not rotating ever? No, they're not rotating. Yeah, we did have it rotating at one point, didn't we? But I completely forgot about it. We're getting a very sort of capable little engine coming together here. There's all sorts of potential we can do. We just need to turn it into a game. Well, exactly. That's absolutely right, Dragon Eye. That's why I think we went with cogs. Everybody goes with circles and cubes and things. We went with cogs. Why not? Right? We'll have a gigantic cog, and the cog had a sub-object attached to it, so that's why we see this little square slightly rotated and offset. Anyway, we're getting distracted from the task at hand here, which is selected objects. So I guess my dialogue needs a way of giving it that entity. I've not tried passing around the actual entity system yet. Are the cogs meaningful? That was a great game. Admittedly, it wasn't as good as Escape the Machine, Alex. Yes, we know. And feel free, Alex, if you want to drop a link to Escape the Machine. I'll let you this once. I'm just checking the Discord. A couple of pings. Nothing particularly important. Okay, good. Right, let's go over to the. Right, how are we going to pass over the information to the selection? Well, I guess I need to pass over the entity registry, which is the fundamental thing. But then also the component that's selected itself, because once I've got the registry and the component, then I can start to perform sort of ECS-like assessments of what's going on. Okay, let's try that anyway. Go start from there. So the thing that I'm actually passing around, I'm going to need to pass this around, and I'm going to need to pass that around. The entity, don't forget, is just a number, so there isn't a sort of a set of objects or properties. I need both of these to then start doing sort of interrogation to work out what is actually part of the selected object. So it's an ent registry and the ent entity. That's what we need to pass in. And what was the header file for ent? It was just that, because we're going to need that in our GUI. GUI. There we go. Right, let's be really disgusting and just bang that up there. Ugh, horrible hacks. And in here, this is where I'm going to actually pass in the information directly. So when we change the selection, we'll have a method here, publicly accessible on the dialog, which can be something like void on object selected. And I want to pass into that the registry itself, and I want to pass in the entity itself. Which I'm guessing I can just pass like that. I don't think the entity is anything more sophisticated than a big number, but we'll pass it like that for now. Okay, so what should we display? We want to display the radius of the selected object, don't we? So I need to try and remember how we determine that information. Let's go to our systems, have a look through here. So we did ECS.get the particular component of an entity. I think it was as simple as that. Let's just grab you as a bit of a prototype and pull you through to where we just created that function. Here. So we'll do auto the... What will that be? That will actually be the component. ECS get... Yeah, it's getting the component. The component isn't a root stage. I don't know why we called it root stage in this instance. Getting distracted there. So this is going to be the component is basically the size. And oddly enough, that's called sphere in our list of components. And I'm going to pass in the entity. There we go. So we're going to get the sphere component of the entity that's been selected. Now that's if it has one. I think they all do. Now, there was a test to make sure that something did have the component, but I've already forgotten what the code was for that. There we go, Alex. He's dropped a link to Escape the Machine. It's time trial based, so if you're into your speed running, you can go and have a go. Yeah, Speedy, I can imagine touch typing isn't something that you're particularly skilled at, but neither am I. So we're on the same team there, man. Let's see where we're going with this. So I now wanted to set the radius label that we've created. In fact, we need to create the label, don't we? We've not done that. So it was called mLabel radius here. So let's put this back into our construct client. mLabel radius. It's a static text. That means it just displays text, nothing else. And I'm going to keep the same position. I'm just going to change that to radius here, and we'll pass in some default rubbish data. Oh dear, I'm deleting things I shouldn't be deleting. There we go. And position and size can stay the same. I don't want it to be that wide. Let's set that to, I don't know, what's a sensible size? 150? Yeah, maybe. Who knows? And we're going to update the text on that with our new value here. So set text. It'll be standard to string radius dot. There we go. Oh, we've also got mass. I don't think we actually set mass at the moment yet in the universe generation algorithm. Oh, I actually need the title. Excuse me, the title as well. Radius and standard to string. Okay. So now I need to call onObjectSelected when we select an object. That's imaginative, isn't it? And we're selecting objects in our state machine. I'm getting to the point where we might need a little bit of a refactor because the files are getting large again. Here we go. Select destination. No, it's not it. Space station selected. Selected. Object is selected. There we go. So if an object is selected, that's the point. Here we go. That looks like the point where we need to specify the updating the dialog. So mdlg selection. What did we say? On object selected. We need to pass in the ECS, and we need to pass in the object that's been selected. We probably want a way of eradicating that as well, because if we deselect an object, we need a way to sort of reset the form. So maybe we should have some sensitivity to an object being null and clearing out the form as necessary. But let's just see if that works first. Oh, we've got some errors. I need to get this thing sorted out that can go make noises when we get errors. What have we got here? Must be... it's because I've not included sort of all of my ECS stuff, have we? Ooh, this is where things are going to get messy because I've not got sort of the correct header guards and things in place. Now we can see what happens if I try and just include that file for now. And I'll tidy that up later. Where was that? That was in our dialogues here. Not that one. It was in that one. So instead of including that, I'm going to include the SD, what did we call it? ECS comps. And that should set up, but I've got a feeling we're going to end up with a situation where we've got multiple definitions of things here. Fingers crossed it just lets us get away with it. Because I'm doing classes in header files and all sorts of bad things. But this is how I code, right? So I like to code organically. I like to code in a way which is, for me, very swift. And then I'll go and sort it all out and make it satisfy the zealots out there. Right, let's go and have a look. So I guess I need to go and select something that has a radius. So let's go and select this moon. Okay, cool. Alright, so that object has a 43.39 radius. This moon here is different. Excellent. Those two moons have the same radius. That seems unlikely. That moon has... Is it a case that all of our moons have the same radius? Or has it now stopped? Select. It's stopped selecting. That's interesting. Why has it stopped selecting? $28. It's because we're already in the selected state. So if I deselect and now go to somewhere else, so that's a little thing in our state machine. We put it in when a new object was selected, and that of course is an event in the state machine. Going from one selected object to another isn't the same scenario as going from a selected object to not selected anything to another selected object. And of course that's why we're only seeing the update there. So let's go and rectify that. Which was in our main. Here we go. So this state here. So yes, we've got this object is selected state. You can of course select a new object in that state. We're not always idle. That's kind of the point. So I need to work out where did we do that. Here we go. This looks like where we're selecting the new object here. It looks like the same sort of thing. So let's go and just put in the same line in here. Do you blame Gorbit, do you, Danicron? Yeah, I mean, I do too. He's not here right now, is he? So yeah, we can blame Gorbit. And Danicron, ladies and gentlemen, will be doing the truffle shuffle for us later on, which I thought was very nice of him. Well done, Danicron. Right, so moon. Oh, did that not change? Moon. Still not changing. Oh, that one changed. Oh no, it is changing. Am I just being slow, just not looking at the values? Planet. Selection, nothing. So when I went from planet to moon, that doesn't select anything. Curious. Sometimes it does it. Sometimes it doesn't. Seems to be doing it reliably there. $36, $28, $47, $28, $47, $28. Yeah, this can't be right. Okay, something's very, very wrong here. I think this is one object out of date, because I believe none of our moons can have a larger radius than the planets. And that's what we're seeing. So it's kind of like we're looking at the previous object that was selected. Yeah, it looks like it was related to deselecting. I think you're right there. Will those scroll bar handle sizes adjust? Yeah. Oh, yes. Do you mean these bits? Yeah, they do. So this one's got 100 in right now. Let's change that. Let's go to where do I create the camera thing? The camera thing was here. So that's going from 0 to 100. If I change that to 0 to let's pick 5, right? So it should go to a nice big bar now. I think we're right. I think we're looking at some sort of deselection issue there. We'll investigate in a minute. So yeah, we can now see that the scroll bar sort of gripper is different in size. Looks like I need to scale the mouse cursor as well, though. But yeah, it's fine. You can click on the arrows as well. 0, 1, 2, 3. How many did we set it to? We set it from 1 to 5, didn't we? So that's what there's only 4 places it can exist. That was it. Because I don't want to set it to 0, because that means the simulation would be effectively stopped. But let's go and have a look at what's going on with this selection issue as well. So moon, and when I select empty space, nothing. Empty space, select this moon. So that one was fine. Empty space, empty space, empty space, 43. So go back to this planet and this moon up here, because clearly this planet is larger than this moon. So we can go to planet, which should be 47, and deselect. And we go to moon, 28, and deselect. 47. When we went to the moon, it didn't refresh, but now it did when we... So it looks like, yeah, when we've already got an object selected, we're sort of displaying everything out by one at a time. I don't know whether that's a good thing or not, Shalazil. I'm rather inclined to try my own little GUI kit looking at that code and result. Okay, fine. Don't use mine. No, it's actually people have known I've been creating this GUI thing for quite some time now, and one of the things that the people have done as a result, they've all had a go. So there's actually quite a number now of Pixel Game Engine specific GUI frameworks. I like to think that mine is probably, and just say this because it's me, mine's probably the most sophisticated one, just due to its construction and the fact that you can now sort of build and customize controls based on existing controls, like you can in a traditional object-oriented GUI framework. That gives us a lot of scope for doing really interesting things with the controls. Yeah, you see, Annie's absolutely right. It's all a great idea. But then I wanted to approach this from the opposite end of the spectrum. So instead of going, right, I'm going to create the world's best GUI framework, I thought, actually, I use GUI frameworks a lot, and I hate using them. I hate interacting with them. So I want something which is very easy to program with. And there is another feature which I've not shown yet, but that is the ability to sort of bind Lambda functions to handle events. Now that added some complexity, and I've got a thing I might do in one of the CodeZone episodes in the future where I found a very interesting bug, a bug, completely my fault bug I should point out, with standard bind and the capture lists of Lambda functions. When the objects that have the Lambda functions binded to them are contained within a vector. All sorts of interesting problems arise there. I think that'll be really interesting to sort of discuss. But I wanted to create a minimum reproducible example to show on the stream before we get stuck into that. Oh, Fizzy Buzzy Beezy, thank you very much. That's much appreciated. Hey, good subscription there. Fuzzy Buzzy Beezy, you remember it's Tuesday. Yeah, it was Tuesday, but it's Tuesday at almost 5 minutes past 9, which means we've kind of got to the end of the show. This GUI is, just going back here, this GUI is it's event driven. I'm not, I get that people think immediate mode is brilliant and it's fashionable at the moment, but actually it's not necessarily the best way in my mind to do GUI. Particularly when you just want ease of use for the end user. You can get a lot of repetitive code in immediate mode stuff. So it's not an immediate mode GUI, but it's actually highly customizable. So we did some experiments with themes. I'll just run this quickly because I got to remember where I do it. Where did I actually set up the color schemes for this? I can't remember. Was it? Did I do that here? Or did I? No, I did it at the start of the application, didn't I? So it's all themable, which I think is an important feature of GUI. I just need to look. Where did I actually set up the themes for this sort of stuff? That looks like it, doesn't it? So if I take out, all of that, so this is where we were setting up the theme. It'd be good to see what the scroll bars look like, because I haven't actually seen the scroll bars in the intended thing. Oh, we're getting all sorts of subscriptions going on here. What's going on? Oh, someone, Fuzzy Buzzy Busy Fuzzy Busy Buzzy Buzzy is gifting tears. Very good. So thank you very much. Yes, much appreciated. So this is what it should look like by default, which I think should be a bit of a Windows 3.1 theme going on there. There we are. So you can actually sort of theme it to look like what you want it to look like. I went with the Elite Dangerous kind of orange on black because we're doing spacey kind of stuff. And you don't have to render it partially translucent either. That's just a Pixel Game Engine freebie that we get because we're rendering the GUI to a different layer. So yes, thank you for all of the gift subs there. So I'm sure the community will appreciate that tremendously. And I'm going to have to leave it there, I think, because that's the hour. We're limited to an hour on these things. I will try and do another stream this week. It probably will be Friday this week, because I think I've actually got a busy. Oh, will it be? Yes, no, it should be okay on Friday. I have to oddly self-isolate Thursday and Friday. Don't worry, I've not got COVID, but I need to go for a minor procedure on Saturday morning. Which means they want me to isolate for a couple of days beforehand anyway. So yes, I probably have nothing better to do on a Friday night other than stream to you guys. So until then, thank you for all of the subscriptions. Thank you for all of the well wishes. They keep coming in regarding Javid X10. And I'll see you all next time. Take care. Bye-bye.